What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and here we are. It is that time again. We all know that every single quarter here on the PikaPikaPaPa channel, we take all kinds of booster box sealed prices over. Really now, we're looking at the last 21 months. We take all of that information, we put it into a BI calculator, and it spits us out some forecasts and some projections for where these booster box prices might be at the end of the next quarter. And we have done this. This is the fourth time we have done it, and every single time we do this, we have more data to put it in the calculator. It gives us more and more buttoned up information, and every time we walk away with some awesome learnings and some awesome intuition as to what might happen in the future. Now, I always start these off with this awesome little Yogi Berra quote right here, and it is tough to make predictions, especially about the future, and there is nothing more true than that when it comes to the world of Pokemon or even sports card collecting and investing, because there are all kinds of things that could upset the apple cart. But with that being said, we have been doing this for a long time on the channel, and we are starting to get pretty freaking dialed in. So with that being said, listen, we're going to look at the Q3 results, right? Because we already cast those out a couple months ago, and we're going to recast out Q4. So we're going to see how our previous predictions worked, and then we're going to recast some predictions out to see where we will finish the year out in regards to Sword and Shield booster box prices. Now, again, as I just said, we have looked at this at the 12-month mark, 15-month mark, 18-month mark. Today, we have 21 months of data that we're going to be looking at, which is really exciting. Now, one of the things that I do want to call out is sealed products have done well this year. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And when a product overall is doing well, especially over a long period of time, it's very easy to look right. It's very easy to make the right decisions because basically everything is going up and to the right. So make sure you think about that when we're talking about some of the success that this math has had. And listen, some of these upper and lower confidence bounds are pretty wide. We're going to get to it, especially when we start looking at some of the items that have been restocked, right? So even though we have some that are falling within the upper and lower confidence bounds, at the end of the day, listen, math is black and white. I need you out there to use those big, beautiful Pokemon collecting and investing in hobbyist brains of yours to make sure that you are making the very best decisions out there and you are playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. Now, I think it's incredibly important to show you all the results of all of the numbers before we get into this, because again, your time is valuable and I want you to make sure that this is, what you are looking for. So the results is in, okay? So we've done this 3 times, right? Q1, Q2, Q3, we have the results for that. 34 of the 36 times, right? So there's 12 booster boxes. We've done this 3 times, so there's 36 different data points. 34 of the 36 times, the price has ended up within those upper and lower confidence bounds, which I'm gonna walk through here in just a minute. So that's a 94% accuracy rate. And I did call out that one of those misses was right when the Brilliant Stars restock happened and it just totally crashed the price. So, I mean, I think that the upper and lower confidence bounds at this point are very solid. And again, we always talk about protecting the downside. So understanding what the lower confidence bound is very important as we talk through a lot of this. The other thing too is it gives you not just an upper and lower confidence bound, but this math actually gives you a forecast. It gives you a hard number and says, you know what, we're going to give you the upside, we're going to give you the downside, but this is the number that we think the booster box is going to end up at. And out of all of those 36 instances, 22 of those times, the actual price ended up at or above that forecast number. Now, that is down. It's only at 61% accuracy. Last quarter when we did it, it was at 75% accuracy. And we all know that the Pokemon market is softening just a little bit, right? So we've seen less sets this time hit that orange mark, which you'll see in a second. Less sets hit the actual forecast. They still, all of them, all 12 of them this month ended up within the upper and lower confidence bound, but we did see less sets hitting that forecast number, and I think that's just an overall indication of the softening the Pokemon market right now. Like, we all understand it was really hot for a long time. There's nothing wrong with the market cooling off a little bit, because guess what? There's going to be other periods of great inflation in the future. Now, you've heard me talk about these things, upper confidence bound, lower confidence bound, and all of that. So let me show you what I mean by that. I take all of the data, you guys know I warehouse all of this, and I keep it in an Excel sheet, right? So I have the January 2022 price point all the way to September 2023 price point. I put it into Excel. I'm able to hit a forecasting simulator, and it gives us this chart on the right. Now, the blue line are the price points that have actually happened, and all of these price points are from TCG Player. The orange line is where I asked it to forecast, right? And that's where you see this little bit of a spaghetti model. So you get 3 numbers out of this. The forecast, which I talked about, that's the hard number where the math has said, hey, this is where we think the booster box price is going to end up at. The lower confidence bound, this is where the math is saying, you know what, if it doesn't end up at the forecast, this is as low as we think it is possibly going to go. And then you get the upper confidence bound, and that is the math saying, listen, if it outperforms the forecast, this is as high as we think it's going to go. Now, the lower and upper confidence bound is the one that I've said throughout the 3 times we've done this over the last year, 94% of all of our prices have actually ended up within that upper and lower confidence bound. And even with the softening that we saw in this quarter, 61% of the time, the prices have ended up at that forecast or better. So when we look at this, when we talk about this, I feel really good that that lower confidence bound really is kind of like a bottom number. And when I'm talking about downside protection, I use that in all of this. Now, I will say this, if you made it this far, you're obviously excited about this kind of data. We're building an amazing subscriber base, and we do this stuff all the time here on the PikaPikaPapa channel. So if this is up your alley, hit that subscribe button. Questions or comments, drop them down below. And as always, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Those 3 small things go a long way in helping my small channel out, and it lets me know you appreciate all the work that we put in here at the PikaPikaPapa. So with that being said, let's get into the sets. Now, I know that a lot of people view this on their phones, so I only do 2 sets per slide, so I'll try and kind of burn through it, but make sure you get some quality out of this as well. So you'll look up there in the orange, you see the Q3 projection. So this is the line where we're going to go ahead and say, hey, Q3, it said in September of 2023, Sword and Shield booster boxes, the base set booster boxes, would be at $309.48. It said there's going to be a lower confidence bound of $287 and an upper confidence bound of $331, right? So when you look at this math, it really favored the upper confidence bound coming out of Q3 and deciding, hey, where are we going to be? The actual booster box price now is at $307, right? So it just barely missed the forecast number, but it certainly outperformed that lower confidence bound number, right? So that's a close miss. That lets me say, hey, listen, that forecast was pretty darn close. Even though I didn't include it in the beginning numbers, like that's not a hit, like a miss is a myth, whether it's by a penny, $1, $10, a miss is a myth, but that is still very close. Now, when we're looking at what the math is saying, in January 1st, 2024, it is saying, guess what? The math is saying, hey, we think it's going to be flat. Believe it or not, look at that orange box right there. The forecast for Sword and Shield booster boxes on January 1, 2024 is $307. It is protecting its downside just a little bit by saying, hey, it could go low as $280, but look at how much it thinks it could grow. The upper confidence bound is up 16% to $334. So for me, this is one where I feel really good. I'm like, hey, listen, I feel like there's not a lot of downside in Sword and Shield booster boxes, and I won't be surprised when we do this look back video in January of 2024 and we see that Sword and Shield booster boxes has outperformed that forecast. Now, the next one right here is Rebel Clash. Another one, very near miss on the forecast, but a miss is a miss. One of the things that was interesting thing here is when you look at the Q3 projection, it really was almost 50-50. You know, it said it could go down 12%, it could go up 17%, but we saw a pretty good rate of return here sitting at $213. So again, Rebel Clash has been flat for the longest time. You see that box there, it says January of 2022. It was at $192, and now it's all the way, 21 months later, right? It's sitting at $213, so certainly not the best gainer. Now, when we look at the forecast for Q4 rolling into January of 2024, it's pretty bullish on it, believe it or not. This is more than I expected. So the forecast for Rebel Clash in January 1 of 2024 is at $223 with a very lower confidence bound saying, hey, it might go down 3% to $206. Now, I will say this box has been very flat for a long time, so I don't see it dropping much below 213. So I think 206 is a pretty good safe, bottom line right there. And then the upper confidence bound is all the way up at $241. Now, I will say this, I'm not sure if this is going to gain $10 over the next 3 months. It certainly hasn't done a whole lot of movement over the last 21 months, but it is really exciting. Something in the math is saying, hey, listen, we think it's going to go up to $223. And we have seen through all these videos, like, hey, there might be something there. So who knows? Maybe Rebel Clash is going to have a little bit of a stronger Q4 than we are used to seeing. Now, with that being said, we got a couple more to look at here. This is Darkness Ablaze, okay? Again, Darkness Ablaze absolutely destroyed the Q3 projection. So it forecasted Darkness Ablaze at the end of Q3 to be at $134. And guess what? It's sitting at $153 right now. Another one that in Q3, the math was like, I don't know what's going to happen. Could go up 22%, could go down 15%, but a really strong quarter for Darkness Ablaze. Now, look what the math is doing again for Q4. Again, sometimes when you see these crazy price changes, the math protects itself. It's saying, hey, listen, I think Darkness Ablaze is going to be flat in Q4. It says it could go down 8%, it could go up 8%, so the math is really confused by what Darkness Ablaze has been doing as of late. So this isn't something where I would say, hey, listen, there's an indicator one way or the other. If it was me, if I was in the market, I'm certainly not going after Darkness Ablaze right now because we have so many data points on it, and it looks like it's a little bit squirrely here for the rest of the quarter and the rest of this year. So we shall see, but it'll be interesting to see if it stays flat or if it outperforms that forecast. But who knows? Again, this is why we do the video. This is why we look at the stuff, because this is absolutely fascinating to me. Then we get to Vivid Voltage. Vivid Voltage, I understand that was printed into the absolute ground, but you know, it had a forecast of $135. It outperformed that at $138. Another one where, hey, the math wasn't exactly 50-50, but the math wasn't sure what to do. It said, hey, it could go down 8%, it could go up 15%, and obviously it performed very well comparatively. Now the math is saying it's not going to do a whole lot in the next quarter. It's saying, hey, it's only going to get to $141, and again, a real tight upper and lower confidence bound there, right? Like -7% or up 11%. You know, in my mind, I don't know when Vivid Voltage is going to grow, and I understand it's been printed into the ground, but for me, I really think that Vivid Voltage is getting to that point where Sword and Shield era is really, really popular. Vivid Voltage is getting some months behind it and years behind it. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we start to see it, you know, grow slowly. I don't think it's going to be one that pops off over time, but I do think that Vivid Voltage, you know, in the $140, $130 range, I still think it's a decent buy for a long-term buy and hold, because I do see it appreciating over the next year. Again, not super aggressively, but I do think that Vivid Voltage is going to grow over time. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this stacks up when we come back in January. Now we're getting into a couple other sets. Battle Styles, such a close miss on the forecast. Forecast said 118. It finished at 112, but guess what? The math is saying, fool me once, I'm going back at it again. It has the exact same forecast for Q4 saying that, hey, Battle Styles is going to end up at $118 per booster box. I have done a ton of research and a ton of data dives into Battle Styles as of late, and you all know that I think Battle Styles is a prime buy anywhere in the 110 range. Like, I think Battle Styles, I know it's not known for being the best set of all time, specifically, it just doesn't have those big hitters in there, but I do think that Battle Styles has enough from a full art trainer perspective and just some really cool art in there as well. I think Battle Styles is going to do well. It's old enough. I just think this is a great entry point for Battle Styles. So will be interesting to look back in January and see where this performs. And then talking about sets that I absolutely love, Chilling Reign. Guess what? Chilling Reign is now sold out from a booster box perspective on the Pokemon Center website, and I know not everybody has access to it, but it is going to be interesting to see how this performs over the next couple months. Now listen, the forecast had it at $157, so close, coming in at $152. But again, this was a set where the math said, hey, listen, I am very bullish on it, right? When you look at the Q3 projection, the math said, hey, it could go down 4% or it could go as high as 25%, and Chilling Reign certainly performed admirably, getting up to $152. Now, when you look at the Q4 projection, it says, hey, the forecast is $166. And again, we see the same type of delineation between the upper and lower confidence bound, right? Very little lower confidence bound, saying it could go down as little as 3%, but then we see a really bullish upper confidence bound where it's saying, hey, it could go as high as 21%. I love Chilling Reign. I love the fact that it just came off the Pokemon Center. Like, I think people are going to FOMO a little bit here for the next couple months because they can't see it there in stock, even if they weren't buying it. The fact that now they don't see it in stock on there anymore, I think a lot of people are going to pile into it. So I think Chilling Reign is a great play, and I think $166 over the next couple months is a really good forecast, and I'm excited to see how that all plays out. Now, Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies. Talk about a rocket ship, right? Now, the Q3 projection was almost $450. It came in well short of that at $421, but it was on track to do that up until really the last 6 weeks, where the booster box has been seeing some price depreciation. Now, again, this is straight from tcgplayer.com, so on eBay, you might not be seeing the same thing, but the booster box price has come down a little bit on tcgplayer.com. Now, I will say this, the math was really bullish on it, saying, hey, listen, it could go as high as 40%, but that's because the trend had been so aggressive up and to the right. But of course, the math's going to protect itself, and it said, hey, it could go down as, you know, as far as -11%, but it still did okay, coming in at $421. We're talking about an ultra modern booster box here that is up to $420 freaking dollars. Now, the math is going absolutely nuts for Evolving Skies over the next quarter, right? It is saying by January 1, 2024, the booster box is going to be just at $490. To me, I just don't see it making that big of a jump. This is why I say in the beginning, math is black and white. You got to apply those big, beautiful brains of yours into this. For me, $492, I don't think it's going to happen, but we shall see. However, the lower confidence bound is at 0%. The math is saying, I don't care what you think, there's no way this box is going down, and I certainly don't disagree with that, and it has the upper confidence bound saying, hey, it could go as high as 33%. Again, it takes the trends. Evolving Skies has been on such a tear over the last 18 months that the math is just simply applying that into the future scenario, but I don't think it's going to get 561. I certainly don't think it's going to get 492, but I also don't think it is going to do poorly either way. But I just think that it's really interesting to see this, and I can't wait to come back and take a look at it. Fusion Strike, you all know Fusion Strike is like my sleeper pick for whatever reason here in the Sword and Shield era. I'm a big fan of this. It did miss forecast by quite a bit, almost $10 there, right? The forecast said, hey, at the end of Q3, it's going to come in at $154. Actually came in at $144, but you'll see that it had a pretty aggressive lower confidence bound, right? That's the biggest one we've seen so far at negative 18%. So the math did think that, hey, something might be up here. Now, it had a really high upper confidence bound saying 33%. But when we look at what it's saying for Q4, it's saying, hey, listen, we still believe in Fusion Strike. We think Fusion Strike is going to be up at $158 per booster box by the end of the year. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's very approachable. And again, just like we see in Evolving Skies up there, look at the lower confidence bound. It's only negative 1%. Like we have talked about this, 94% of all of the time we have done this, we have seen sets end up within those upper and lower confidence bounds. So unless this one is just a statistical anomaly, then you should feel really good at getting in at Fusion Strike right now for $140. The math suggests that's a very safe play. Now, it does say it could go up maybe 21%. I don't think it's going to get to $175 by the end of the year, but I certainly love it when I see that the math supports that kind of growth. So again, Fusion Strike, one of my sleeper picks, and I think it is a great time to get in on Fusion Strike. Now, looking at a couple other ones right here, we have Brilliant Stars. Brilliant Stars has been restocked. Brilliant Stars has been all over the place. Like the math doesn't love inconsistencies like this, but it is really cool to say that, listen, the Q3 projection was $177, right? And that was because Brilliant Stars had been on a tear. Then it got restocked and the math said, hey, listen, it's going to rebound. Well, obviously it didn't rebound as quickly. And again, we had talked about that in the previous video of this. We said there's no way in God's green earth it's going to snap back that quickly, but it is at $149 and it was within the upper and lower confidence bound, right? Again, just a really cool data point for us to continue to talk about and feel good when we're talking about protecting the downside. Now, I will say this, it is saying Brilliant Stars by the end of the year is going to be up to $169. I don't know if it's going to gain 20 bucks. We certainly will need a lot of it to flush out of the secondary market, but if any set can do it, I think Brilliant Stars can. I love the set. I love the cardboard. I think it's got nothing but a ton of legs. It's a top 3 Sword and Shield era set, so it'll be really interesting to see where it ends up. A little bit higher on the lower confidence bound, right? It says negative 6%. Upper confidence bound is up there at positive 34%. So the math is certainly way more bullish than bearish on Brilliant Stars over the next 3 months. Then we get into Astral Radiance, and Astral Radiance was one of the ones that really hit forecast, okay? So it said 122.91. It finished at 122. But look at the way the forecast was. The lower confidence bound was negative 25%. The upper confidence bound was all the way up to 27%. So the math really didn't know which way it was going to go, which is interesting when you see almost that split in upper and lower, and then it ends up right at forecast. Like that is really cool for me as a data nerd. Like I love seeing that kind of stuff. Now we look at what Astral Radiance is forecast to do towards the end of this year. It says it could get as high as $159. No freaking way, Charlie. It's not going to happen. Forget about that noise. Now you look at the upper and lower confidence bounds here. Lower confidence bound is pretty high at negative 17%. Upper confidence bound is all the way at 41%. Again, no way, not going to happen. As we start getting into some of these newer Sword and Shield sets, you're going to start to see that there's some big delineations between upper and lower confidence bound, and the numbers start to get a little bit crazy because we simply need more data on it. But do I think Astral Radiance is going to do well? Absolutely. Could it get restocked? Absolutely. I don't know what's going to happen. These newer sets are a little bit of a guessing game, right? So then we get into the last two right here. Like we got Lost Origin and Silver Tempest. 2 more sets that were restocked, and when you look at Lost Origin, it really was a gimme for some of these metrics that we track. Q3 projection had it at $129. It finished at $134. Nothing to shake a fist at, but look at the lower and upper confidence bounds. Like, this is how a restock on a set that hasn't been out that long can totally throw the math for a loop. Had a lower confidence bound at negative 67%, upper confidence bound at 43%. That's pretty much irrelevant. That doesn't make any sense. But now we look at Q4, and we're starting to get back in line. Like Q4 Q4, it says Lost Origin could be all the way up to $147 a booster box. I could totally see that happening. But again, it's going to protect itself because of all of the volatility that we saw earlier in this year. And it says, hey, it could go down 18%. It could go up 37%. I personally don't know what's going to happen with Lost Origin. I don't really care what's going to happen with Lost Origin over the next 6, 12, 18 months because I think in the long run, Lost Origin is going to be an epic set, and I think it is going to perform wonderfully for all of us. Now, another set, really too early to get some hard, fast data out of, but that is Silver Tempest, okay? Another set that was restocked, right? The math said, hey, we're forecasting it out at $157, ended up at $127, still within those upper and lower confidence bounds, but certainly was well off the forecasting mark. And then when you look at what it's forecasting for Q4, it's starting to come in line, right? It says $133.69. I could totally see Silver Tempest getting up to $134, right? That's not a big jump. And then when you look at the upper and lower confidence bounds, again, newer set, lots of volatility because of the restocks. It's all over the place. It says it could go down 26%, could go up as high as 37%. It is all over the place, but we will have to play this one out. And this is why I get so excited, because as we get more and more data points, we start to get more and more buttoned up. Now, I will say this. As much as I love Sword and Shield, on Sunday we're going to do the same thing for Sun and Moon, and it should be an absolute freaking blast. I can't wait. If you made it to the end of this video and you think all of this stuff is cool and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Questions or comments, drop them down below. And as always, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Have an epic weekend. I can't wait to talk to you on Sunday. See you, everybody.